And welcome back to the TK423 podcast, where today we're going to dive in to some comments that were made by Miss Rosario Dawson, aka Ahsoka, and they pertain to a little bit of Rebels season 5 being the equivalent to Ahsoka, vice versa. Who knows? Maybe it's true. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just a big smokescreen by Dave Filoni. But otherwise, let's jump into it.
So what I told you was true, from a certain point of view.
So, Ahsoka releases August 23rd, 2023, Disney Plus, right? And we're getting Rosario Dawson back as Ahsoka, obviously. Dave Filoni's the head of this. And we're getting a lot of Rebels coming in the live action. We're getting the General, Hera Syndulla. We're getting the Warrior and Sabine Wren. We're getting Zeb again. We originally saw Zeb in Rebels, and then we saw a live action version of him in The Mandalorian Season 3, which I thought was spectacular. I mean, they knocked it out of the park with that animation. I loved it. And then we're getting into Grand Admiral Thrawn. Live action, which is going to be awesome. And then Ezra Bridger and Captain Rex and maybe Agent Callus. Maybe. I think that'd be really cool. I think, I would be really curious as to who would be cast as him. There hasn't been any, rumors of that, but would be cool. And then we get to see my boy Chopper, the sassiest droid on the planet. Oh man, I love Chopper. And then we're getting some new characters. Baylan Skoll, played by Ray Stevenson, who, may he rest in peace. God. Again, very tragic, very sad for his loss. I loved him on Dexter. God, I loved him on Dexter. And then we got his Padawan, his apprentice, Shin Hati, who kind of looks a little bit like Lana Beniko from Star Wars The Old Republic. And almost suspiciously a lot alike. And I like it. I love it. Because Lana is a great character. And Shin Hati looks like a great character. Looks very interesting. He's a little firecracker. I love it. And then we get the return of Morgan Elsbeth. You recently saw her in The Mandalorian Season 2 when she fought Ahsoka with the Beskar Spear. And she was asking about old Grand Admiral Thrawn. And so we're getting all these people, right? And a lot of people are thinking, wow, this is a lot. Like, especially if you're really acquainted with Rebels, hitting on Rosario Dawson's comment of this could, it's shaping to be like a Rebels season 5. It's easy to call it that, I think, because at the end of Rebels, you see Sabine going to search for Ezra, right? And then you see Ahsoka coming in, obviously offering her guidance and her help, and into finding Ezra, right? Because let's not forget, Ezra saved the day, taking a page out of his master Kanan's book of sacrificing himself and transporting him and Thrawn to who knows where, right? We don't know. And so with that, we are getting a continuation of the Rebel story, right? Carrie Beck, one of the executive producers of the Ahsoka series, said recently, kind of confirming what we already probably knew what was going to happen, that the big three in the Ahsoka series are Ahsoka, obviously, Hera Syndulla, and Sabine Wren. And so Obviously, from the the frontal picture of this is saying, okay, Sabine is looking for Ezra, right? Ahsoka was helping Sabine, right? And then Hera was busy continuing to be a general in the Rebel Alliance, right? And so I'm not sure where they'll take Hera's story. I'm not sure how they'll intertwine that with Ahsoka's story. I think that'll be very interesting. Maybe it'll kind of be like a thing where the Ghost Crew comes back, just minus Ezra and Kanan for the time being. Well, Kanan permanently, obviously, but minus Ezra for the time being, temporarily. Um, but I think this opens the door for more shows like this from Dave Filoni. I mean, I'm talking potential live action Clone Wars shows, right? Like little, adventures within the Clone Wars where maybe you bring back Hayden and Ewan, right? Um, and I think that would be really cool. I grant they're both getting old, but um, now that you have a structured and really good live action Ahsoka, I think you can do that. Um, Now, granted, it would. I don't know. I don't know how the live action, the Rosario Dawson Ahsoka would fit in with the Clone Wars version. Um, I I don't know if they would have to recast that. I mean, they could try. Um, but I just don't know how that would flow. But I think this Ahsoka series is going to lay the groundwork for projects like that, and I think it's going to change current projects. Um, it's going to change the mood, the flow, because Dave Filoni and what he's going to do with this show and what he's bringing to the table. Not one, not two, three strong female leads in Star Wars in one show. And Disney has a bad track history of having female leads. Okay? The only one that is an exception is Felicity Jones in Andor. Not Andor, apologies. Rogue One. So, aside from that, right, you had Rey, who I love Daisy Ridley to death, but had a terrible, terrible story, terrible writing, terrible character progression, didn't make any sense, at all. So this is going to be very foreign to Disney, I think, in the Star Wars realm, right? Just we're talking Star Wars, um, because I think this is going to be a knockout of the park. I genuinely do, and you know when you look at shows like The Acolyte, where it is pushed, like, okay, we have to have a lot of women characters, we have to have a lot of women leads. I don't think that's the way to go about it. I don't. I'm all for male, female, alien lead. I don't care as long as they have good writing, they have a good backstory. It makes sense. It's cohesive. It flows with the whole story, and I think what Dave has done now with this, he's not introducing these characters. Maybe to casual viewers, right? He's introducing them to people who haven't seen Rebels. But if you go back and watch Rebels, Hera's story on how she was just part of, I guess you can call it like a gang or a faction, all the way up to a general in the Rebel Alliance, one of the best pilots in Star Wars. And then you have Sabine, who was a Mandalorian, part of House Wren, descendants of, I believe, House Vizsla. And it's just, it, she has such a good story. Her and Hera both. I I mean, she wielded the Darksaber for a time. She trained with Kanan, in some Jedi ways and some Jedi trickeries. And, at the end of the day, we got something that we didn't really expect out of a show like Rebels. We got a lot of strong characters with a lot of strong stories. And not to mention my main guy, Ezra, who teetered with the dark side, got a relationship with Maul, then got betrayed by Maul, in typical Sith fashion, right? And ultimately walked the way of the Jedi. And I love that, and that Dave Filoni created him and made him a part of the story, and it contributed to Hera's story, kind of being that mother figure to him, contributed to Sabine's story, kind of having a little bit of a potential love story, And now we're getting it all in live action. And you couldn't ask for more, like I said, as a Rebels fan. And I think now, with everything unfolding, all the new shows coming out, you have the Acolyte, you have Skeleton Crew, Andor Season 2, Mandalorian Season 4, if and when it happens. And then you have the movies coming out. And I think the Ahsoka show is going to do wonders. I think it could save Disney a little bit out of this hole that they're currently in. And it'll put shows like Obi-Wan Kenobi to shame. It'll put shows like Book of Boba Fett to shame. Even more so. Right? Because I think you're going to see really good story. A really good story. Okay? And if it is indeed a Rebels Season 5, if people want to structure it like that, let's have at it. Why not? Right? But let's not forget, at the end of the day, this is the Ahsoka show. Okay? It is about Ahsoka. It is about, her trying to find peace in the galaxy, right? Helping the Rebel Alliance, trying to find Thrawn, helping Sabine find Ezra, which would ultimately lead to Thrawn, theoretically speaking, and then dealing with some new characters along the way. Baylan Skoll, Shin Hati, Morgan Elsbeth again, Thrawn, and then more Inquisitors. So I think this show is going to, like I said, do wonders for the outlook on Disney shows from here on out for at least Star Wars Disney shows. And it's going to showcase on how you really treat strong women characters in Star Wars. You give them good story, you give them good flow, and you give them a good purpose, right? And I think this is going to bring a lot of light to the current darkness. So, agree with me? Don't agree with me? That's fine. But I'm excited. Ahsoka series premiering on Disney Plus August 23rd. Be there or be square. I am going to post a lot of content about the Ahsoka series, especially when it comes out, because this guy's excited for it. So I hope you are too. Rebels fans, let's rejoice. We're getting our Phoenix crew, Phoenix Squadron, live action. Couldn't be more excited. So, that'll do for today's episode of the TK423 podcast. Please, don't forget to leave your opinion. I want to hear it. Drop it down below. Like and subscribe. And let me know what you want to hear more about. Right? Let me know. Otherwise, everyone have a fantastic day. And let's not forget, may the Force be with you.